It's the go-home episode to Full Gear on AEW Dynamite and the aftermath episode of NXT's Halloween Havoc. Which show is better? We decide in the War Room next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. We start things off in tag team action on AEW Dynamite as MJF and Wardlow square off against the Inner Circle's Ortiz and Sammy Guevara. Women's action starts off NXT as Ember Moon squares off against Dakota Kai. Now, I think the setup was very good for MJF and Wardlow versus Ortiz and Sammy Guevara. It was a very good interview segment where Chris Jericho called MJF soft. And let me tell you, this opening match was action-packed. Sammy Guevara shined a lot in this match. MJF did a good job attacking Ortiz's arm, which set up the finish. Wardlow was able to show his strength as well. I think the aftermath of this match where MJF spared Chris Jericho from the commentary table and they had a little scuffle, I think that was very good. The only blemish on this match, though, I think was just the fact that Aubrey Edwards seemed a little too relaxed in enforcing the legal man in this tag team match. Not really killing the vibe of this match, but something that I noticed in this match. Now, in the women's match to open up NXT, I got to admit, I was surprised that Dakota Kai won this match, especially with Ember Moon coming back. They want to give her momentum. I thought they would have given her the win here. But it still makes sense with the distraction of Raquel Gonzalez. The opening match, yes, it was slow at first, but once it got going, this was a very enjoyable match to watch. However, I'm going to give this first segment to AEW Dynamite. I thought their match was definitely much better from beginning to end. I think it told the story better. And obviously, with the go-home angle, this definitely helps with their match between MJF and Chris Jericho. Up next, we have Miro versus Trent on AEW Dynamite, Cameron Grimes versus Kushida on NXT. Now, obviously still spooked from last week's Haunted House of Terrors match with Dexter Lumis. This was played off early in the match with Grimes and Kushida. Grimes looked around, scared, feeling jittery, which caused Kushida to dominate the match early on. That went through the commercial break, but after the break, the match got a lot more contested. Kushida actually got Grimes to tap out with the hoverboard lock, but the ref was knocked out, so match continues. Grimes was able to take advantage to get Kushida pinned, but still no ref. Who comes out? It's the ref that was playing the zombie ref from last week, obviously giving Cameron Grimes some PTSD, causing him to lose this match to Kushida. I thought this was very good character development with Cameron Grimes this week. Great match nonetheless. Kushida gets a win. Obviously continuing his momentum. What happens with him next? Does he go after the North American title? Does he go after the NXT championship? Wherever he ends up, I'm very excited for. Kushida has looked very good in the last couple of months. Now, over on AEW Dynamite, this was Miro's first singles match since signing with the promotion. And this was a good first singles match. I think Trent provided a contested match. He could sell for Miro. We've seen a lot of squash matches from the bigger guys already, so it was nice and a different approach to show Miro's dominance without it being this quick 1, 2, 3 squash match. Trent does get protected as well with the finish. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not where Trent slipped off the ropes, but nonetheless, Miro and Trent played it off nicely. Miro takes advantage of the mistake, leads into the game over for the win. I'm going to give this segment to NXT just because I think the character development with Cameron Grimes was very good. And I thought it was just the better segment because of the character development and just the way that Cameron Grimes was playing off last week's Haunted House of Terrors made it a more enjoyable segment to watch, in my opinion. Next up, we have tag team action on NXT, Drake Maverick and Killian Dain versus Everrise. On AEW Dynamite, we have Tazz with Team Tazz hijacking the show with a promo. Now, let's talk about the promo first. I love this promo. Tazz speaks the truth in this one. Brian Cage is the number 1 ranked wrestler in AEW, yet he doesn't have a match Saturday at Full Gear. Ricky Starks has won, it seems like 10 or 11 matches. He's not even ranked. When this promotion talks about wins and losses matter and they want the rankings to matter, Brian Cage should have a match at Full Gear. Ricky Starks probably should be ranked. Obviously, a lot of his matches are happening on Dark, so I understand possibly why he's not in the top 5. But this is something that people are starting to address. Do rankings matter in AEW? We did a poll on it. Some people like them, some people don't. So I'm on the fence that I think the rankings need to be fixed a little bit, but in due time, I think they will balance out. Now, I think this promo also forms a little bit of foreshadowing, as there was a lot of talk about the TNT Championship with Cody and Darby this Saturday. So I think what's going to happen is Darby's going to win on Saturday and lead to what I think will be either Brian Cage versus Darby or Ricky Starks versus Darby for the TNT Championship, not too much farther after Full Gear. Now on NXT, it's a rematch of 2 weeks ago. The match itself is nothing to write home about. I think there's more to talk about after this match, where Pat McAfee and his gang do beat up on Drake Maverick and Killian Dain. They do cut a promo, which we'll talk about in a minute. I'm going to give this segment to AEW. Obviously, the promo was very, very good. I think Tazz, as always, is a good promo. Came out with fire, came out with stuff that people are addressing with the rankings, and obviously progresses the story, what we'll see next with whoever becomes the TNT champion after Saturday with Cody and Darby. Now on NXT, we continue on this promo with Pat McAfee. He cuts a promo after beating down Drake Maverick and Killian Dain. Pat McAfee's bragging about the newly formed foursome of himself, Oney Lorcan, Danny Burch, and Pete Dunne, calling them the best four-man group. Also providing this tribute/eulogy-like promo with the Undisputed Era, as if they're like no longer coming back to NXT. There was this banner that they were going to hang up and said they burn it in a garbage can. You have Pete Dunne explaining why he doesn't like the Undisputed Era, obviously talking about Roderick Strong turning on him in the Dusty Road Classics finals a few years back. I thought this was a good promo. I mean, obviously, Pat McAfee is such a good promo. He comes in as technically an outsider and is one of the best promos in NXT, if not the best promo in NXT. He's easily the best thing in NXT right now since he's come back a couple weeks ago. Awesome segment. Now, over on Dynamite, we have the tag match, Private Party versus the Young Bucks. I thought the match itself was okay. I'll admit it was hard to focus when you could assume that the Bucks were going to win heading into Full Gear. They need that momentum heading into their tag match for the titles against FTR. However, what I was not expecting was what happened after the match. So FTR is beating down the Bucks. It looks like they're going to smash Matt Jackson's ankle yet again. But coming in for the save is Adam Hangman Page and Kenny Omega soon to follow. Now, there were a couple of interview video packages before this match where Tony Schiavone interviewed Kenny Omega, Jim Ross interviewed Hangman Page, which I thought those were good segments, good video packages. But for a go-home segment, probably not the best way to execute them. And I think this here, after the tag match, we had a little bit of a face-to-face with Kenny and Hangman, where Hangman is holding an empty glass. I think this was a missed opportunity for AEW Dynamite personally. I think what should have happened was Hangman Page should have hit Kenny Omega with that empty glass. It would have gotten a nice pop from the crowd. It would have got people talking, would have built some heat heading into their match Saturday, but instead, they just end the segment as is, where they're just talking to each other. So I think it was a missed opportunity, like I said. I'm going to give this segment to NXT here. I think Pat McAfee's promo was just very, very good. And the fact that I think we knew where this was going with the Bucks and Private Party kind of tuned me out of it. Up next, I think was the highlight of both shows, honestly. Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley face off on AEW Dynamite heading into their big match, their I Quit match at Full Gear. Toni Storm versus Shotzi Blackheart on NXT. Now, let's talk about the face-to-face first. Earlier in the night, Tony Khan said that if either wrestler engages in contact, the match Saturday is canceled. So instead, these two brought amazing, passionate promos. You got Kingston's words helping bring prestige to this title, showing the importance of this title, what he sacrificed for 18 years for a shot at this title. Moxley, on the other hand, he talks about the relationship that he and Kingston once had, bringing up his mother, how he failed to keep a promise to keep an eye on Eddie Kingston. You know, all this stuff. It was just such a good segment. Meanwhile, you have Kingston trying so hard not to touch Moxley, which only led him to walk out. Now, folks, This is a go-home segment. This is a go-home segment. If you want to know why wrestling has become such a niche market, why AEW can't hit 1 million viewers weekly, why Raw sees record lows in ratings, and it's no matter what promotion, why people feel like the ratings could be better, but they're just not. This is a reason why, because there's fewer segments like this one. We have wrestlers today focusing way too much on the 5-star match without getting people to care about the match to begin with. This here made me fully invested in their match this coming Saturday. Obviously, it's going to be the main event. Obviously, for the AEW Championship, I don't even care about the rankings that Eddie Kingston's not ranked. This story is so damn good, and these two have been killing it with their promos. I am excited. I think they're going to tell an amazing story come Saturday that this is probably going to deliver and be one of, if not the match of the night. Over on NXT, they had a very good match. Now, obviously, not real much build to it, but told a story nonetheless. So Shotzi Blackheart comes out with no tank. Apparently, the tank is missing, and this helps with the start of the match as Shotzi thinks that Toni had something to do with it. It made the match very physical and fast-paced from the get-go. I think it was a very good match, and the end was a little unexpected. Now, Candice appears on screen with Shotzi's tank. Toni Storm takes advantage with a roll-up, gets the win there. Candice comes back on the screen and runs over the tank with a truck. And obviously this makes Shotzi have a crying fit. She played it off very, very well as if she lost a kid. It was very passionate. I think it was a very good match with a story that gives 1, Toni a win, and 2, protection for Shotzi, and progresses a storyline between her and Candice LeRae. Very good. This one was a toss-up on which segment was better, but I will go with AEW Dynamite just because that is a go-home segment. That is for the main prize in the promotion. That is, that's what you want people to buy a pay-per-view for. That segment right there. Excellent, excellent, excellent work there. Now, before we get to the next pair of segments between the two shows, I do want to bring up PAC. So we had this very interesting video package from PAC. Really well done. I mean, the production value on this was awesome. I think the use of Adobe After Effects was very, very good. You got little hints of Eddie Kingston put into these video packages. So obviously, I think PAC is looking to focus in on Eddie Kingston when he decides to become full-time back in AEW Dynamite at a physical state, not just at a video state. However, there was no clear indication of when PAC will be physically back in AEW, but I do think it will be sooner rather than later, or else they wouldn't have released these video packages. I think they filmed the video, got him to the United States, have him quarantined for 2 weeks, and then he'll be on AEW Dynamite on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Back to the war itself, Nyla Rose and Red Velvet for AEW Dynamite. Timothy Thatcher does more catch wrestling. Now, Nyla Rose versus Red Velvet. This was a last attempt to create build for Nyla and Shida at Full Gear. Not much build to it. Basically, all we know is Nyla's the number 1 contender. She refuses to wrestle until she got a title match. She now gets a title match, so she has a match here. They did provide something to get invested, but I'll admit it was not enough. You have Vicky Guerrero calling out Brandy Rhodes and then going after Hikaru Shida. So I believe what ends up happening here is I think it's going to foreshadow Nyla taking the title off of Shida and leading to Brandy Rhodes being the first challenger against Nyla at some point. I know it's not exactly what everybody wants, but for a division that needs something to get it going and for people to be invested in, I think Nyla with Vicky and Brandy Rhodes is probably the best bet, considering Vicky is a good promo, Brandy's a good promo, even Nyla's a good promo. So I think they need someone with good promos and character work to help booster this division in AEW. And I think that's the direction to go. Hikaru Shida has done a great job. She has great matches, but I think the language barrier and the lack of character itself is kind of hindering the reason why the championship isn't really on the forefront of AEW. But the Thatcher segment, I think, was a throwaway as well. I think fans were, taken away from this segment because Thatcher wasn't using a microphone, so while we heard it from the camera mic, the fans weren't hearing it, so there were a little bit of hijacking, saying what, and we can't hear you. So that just kind of took off the vibe of the whole thing. So again, I think they could be doing a little bit better with Timothy Thatcher, honestly. Main event time, folks. Cody and the Gunn Club versus Dark Order's Colt Cabana, John Silver, and 10 on AEW Dynamite. Tommaso Ciampa versus Velveteen Dream over on NXT. Now, I'll start off with NXT. I think it was a very good, fast-paced match to close out NXT this week. I really like the finish of this match where Dream tried to distract the referee by sliding a chair into the ring, going up the top rope, only to get the knee from Tommaso Ciampa and leading that to the fairy tale ending for the 1-2-3. Thought it was a very good match and thought it was very physical. I think Tommaso Ciampa going after Dream's arm in the beginning with the cast was very good. Just a good way to close off the show. Now over on AEW Dynamite, it was a good match. However, I believe this match should not have main evented the go-home show to Full Gear. I think that would have been better fit for possibly the opening match, maybe swap over with the Bucks and Private Party here. Cody, however, delivered a good promo to Darby, who was sitting in the top tier of Daly's place in silence. Cody explains how Darby believes that TNT doesn't want him to be the champion. But Cody says that's not true, refers to how he recruited Darby, and the EVPs were a little reluctant about that. I think this is just another case, though, of what we see with Nyla and Shida, where this is a last-ditch effort to try to build this match where there wasn't much build prior to it. We did have something with Orange Cassidy and John Silver after this match as well. And I feel like that has gotten more build than Cody versus Darby or Shida versus Rose. So I think that's a problem. I mean, I like Orange Cassidy. I like John Silver. But this is a match that was originally on the buy-in that they just put on the main card going up against two championship matches. Those championship matches probably should have more focus and more build than Orange Cassidy versus John Silver. That's my opinion. Nonetheless, I will give the segment to NXT here. So just because of the fact that that match should not have main evented, I think. But before we get to decide which show is better this week, let's go over the ratings. And this week, with all the election coverage, it's obvious that the ratings are down. And believe it or not, both shows did not make the top 50. This is the first time that neither AEW Dynamite or NXT hit the top 50 in the 18 to 49 demographic. AEW Dynamite did kind of keep what they're used to getting with a 0.30 in the 18 to 49 demographic. Number 2 in non-election coverage for Wednesday night. NXT got a 0.14, which is a huge hit from last week's 0.25. AEW Dynamite wins the total viewership again this week. 717,000 total viewers to NXT's 610,000 total viewers. This week, I'm going to give it to AEW Dynamite. I think they had the better opening match. I think they had the best segment of the night. And overall, with the go-home show, although there were some flaws to it, I think they did a good job selling people Full Gear this Saturday, where NXT, it was a good aftermath show, but still, we have this case where they open up with a good match, they close with a good match, in the middle, at 9 o'clock, there was a good match, and a lot of fluff in between. Still a good show from beginning to end, but I think at the end, AEW Dynamite just had the better show. But let me know your opinion on which show is better, AEW Dynamite or NXT, in the comments below. To join the conversation, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and we'll talk to you on the next episode of the Squared Circle Cycle Battle.